Greetings and welcome to the channel. This is Michaela from Team Retrogue, where we like retro games and the devices that bring them to us. So in this video, we're actually going to take a look at joystick caps, specifically an acupressure joystick cap known as Stubbs Nubbs. Now, this originally started in the Retro Handhelds community as a joke, and it was really amazing and actually kind of hilarious to see things go from a joke. I believe it was Retro Tech Dad who came up with the name Stubbs Nubbs. And now we actually have gone through the concept, the design phase, and we have the actual product in-house now. And so we're going to try Stubbs Nubbs on a couple of handhelds. We're going to put them through their paces, and we're going to see how they actually feel with real gameplay. And if there's benefits for the pancreas, I'll mention that too. So let's dive in, and let's get to work. So Stubbs Nubbs are actually provided by the 3D printed studio on Etsy. So I will put a link in the description to this specific site, as well as a direct link to Stubbs Nubbs themselves. And the nice thing about these joystick caps is that you can order them in pretty much any color that you want. And you can actually get the sampler of all three different types of Stubbs Nubbs for only $10 plus shipping. And there is a coupon code for 5% off. I will include that in the video description as well. Now let's take a second, hop on our mount, and head into Spec Town and take a look at the three different types of Stubbs Nubbs that you can actually purchase. The first one is a retro branded style that has the Retro Handhelds logo, and that one is actually going to be the most gentle. You're going to get the least amount of pain and probably the most amount of comfortability operating with the retro style Stubbs Nubbs. Rosebud would be the medium level. There's actually a nice little flower design, and they are slightly more painful, but it's just enough pain to potentially stimulate the pancreas. Some experts maybe say somewhere on the internet, but I'm pretty sure any health benefits are purely coincidental. And then finally, there is the Spiky design. Now, the Spiky design is actually somewhat sharp, but it's not sharp enough to actually pierce the skin. However, be forewarned, you will feel something with the Spiky design. They are definitely meant to produce a small amount of pain. Now let's go ahead and do the unboxing. Now I received several units of Stubbs Nubbs. I received one review unit of the Spiky model from Stubbs himself, and that was provided to me for the purposes of this review. Stubbs did not see the video beforehand, no money exchanged hands, and all opinions are my own. But then I also went ahead and I purchased a sampler set from the Etsy store, and I also purchased a Retro Handhelds handheld stand that was also 3D printed by the same shop. So here's the review unit sent to me by Stubbs, and he sent me the Spiky model in a green color, which is actually very much like him. He really does love his green colors. And so we'll test that out in a little bit, but let's go ahead and open up the box that I purchased, and let's see what the sampler set looks like. And so opening the box, you could see that I ordered the sampler set in white because I felt that white was going to complement my handhelds the best. And then you can also see the stand and the counter that I purchased as well. And so if I lay these out, you're going to see pretty much what you're going to get if you do purchase these joystick caps. And they are pretty simply packaged, but they are very well done. And so let's take a look at a handheld that I have yet to review on this channel, but I will be talking about it in the near future, and that's the Aya Neo Pocket Air. And the reason that I'm choosing to go with this device is that these joystick caps are kind of on the small side. They're really meant for a Switch Joy-Con, but any handheld that has these smaller Switch Joy-Con style caps will be able to utilize Stubbs Nubbs to their fullest. And so we're going to try these spiky ones first. We're going to get the most painful ones out of the way, so that way I can physically and mentally recover from the experience of having joystick caps dig into my thumbs. And so one cool but probably unintended feature is that if you are using a retro handheld with LED lights around the joysticks, the LED lights actually accentuate the nubs. And I never thought I would say the words accentuate the nubs on a YouTube channel, but in 2023, here we are. And one thing I'm going to say right off the bat is if you are using L3 and R3 to access the menu in RetroArch, you may want to be very, very careful, or you may want to pick a different button combination, because I found that pressing L3 and R3 to open the RetroArch menu with the spiky nubs actually did produce a pretty solid amount of thumb pain. And so if you take a look at my thumbs afterwards, you can see that there really is a pretty big indentation where I press down L3 and R3, and you could see the outline of the spiky nubs right there in my thumbs. However, they didn't break skin, so at least they are not meant to do actual damage, but I bet you if I pressed down any harder, there would have been some more pain to be sure. So now let's go ahead and get into a fighting game. So here we are playing Super Street Fighter 2 for the Super Nintendo, and I purposely set this to use the joystick because I wanted to see how the spiky nubs felt when playing something intense like a fighting game. And I have to say, they actually did keep me a little bit more alert, and they definitely did enhance my grip on the joystick. So I don't want to say that the nubs made me better at fighting games, but it certainly felt that way. But I found that the best use of the spiky nubs was for something simple like a role-playing game like Pokemon. So here I am playing Pokemon Omega Ruby, and if you rest your hands on the nubs lightly, you are getting just the right amount of feedback to feel like they're doing something, but they're not actually digging into your thumbs. And I honestly was a little bit sleepy when I was doing this footage, and I found that the spiky nubs actually did help me stay awake, probably because I was getting that actual tactile feedback of spikes going into my thumb. Now let's go ahead and grab another handheld with small joysticks. This is the 1X Fly, and unfortunately the Rosebud joysticks were just a little bit too small to fit on this specific handheld. So instead, I went ahead and I tried the retro ones, and those actually fit fine, and I found that the retro style Stubbs Nubbs Joy Caps were definitely a more pleasant and less painful experience. So I want to say if you have a low pain tolerance, then you may want to try these instead. And I don't have the science to back this up, but with the retro style joy caps, I definitely got just enough feedback to feel a little bit more relaxed, and that possibly might be why I'm killing it in Super Mario Bros. In this footage. Now let's take a look at a game that almost exclusively requires the joysticks, and that would be Final Fantasy XIV, one of my favorite games to play on these retro handheld devices. And because I'm using the joysticks a lot more often, I am definitely noticing that tactile feedback, but it's definitely not as pronounced as the spiky version. In fact, they haven't left any impressions or marks on my thumbs. Now let's take the Rosebud and let's just press down on it really quick and let's see what happens there. And the Rosebud model is definitely a nice middle ground. It will leave an impression on your thumbs that will go away after a little bit, but It definitely feels a lot more tactile than the retro ones. So you're going to have an actual pretty decent balance between pain and comfortability. And allegedly, it also helps with digestion, but I'm not too sure about that. So let's go ahead and start wrapping things up with final thoughts. I love that these can be printed in a variety of colors, and I do like that it is a nice hard plastic. I feel there is a very nice quality to the 3D print. You do have various options available to you depending on the amount of pain you want to experience while using these nubs. I can't believe that I'm saying this in a YouTube video. However, with each model, as long as you're using them responsibly, they're not going to break your skin. That's not what the purpose of these is for. The purpose is to produce just amount of pain to stimulate the body and potentially get the pancreas working and get the digestion working. And unfortunately, that's also one of the negatives of these joystick caps because these health benefits are not tested and they are purely coincidental. You also want to be careful with the Spiky model because out of all three models, I think that one actually has the most potential to do damage to your thumbs. And these are a little bit small, so you really can only use them for Joy-Con style joysticks. So if you have something bigger like a PlayStation controller or an Odin 2 or a Steam Deck, you're not going to be able to take advantage of the benefits of Stubbs Nubbs unless you have something small enough for them to fit. And who knows, maybe after this video there will be an opportunity for Stubbs and the 3D printed studio to actually make bigger models for those types of controllers, or maybe the community will get involved. I know Ban has a 3D printer, maybe he can adapt something so that you can use these on bigger controllers. And yes, that is a challenge. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you planning on picking up Stubbs Nubs? Do you already own a pair? Have you seen any noticeable health benefits? Or is Stubbs just being ridiculous? And feel free to continue the conversation in the Retro Handhelds and the Steam Machine Discords. It's where you could find me hanging out in between videos, and I would love to see people's opinions on these joystick caps. But that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if this was helpful to you in any way, please be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, bye for now, and don't stop believing.